Toyota factory, which is in the western suburbs of Melbourne, they've been putting money into a group who have been doing a lot of plantings along the Kororoit Creek, which the creek runs directly behind their factory in Altona North. They've funded that group for quite a while, to actually basically get a bit of life back into the area. And as part of a goodwill gesture from them is that when they shut the factory down, they want to give something back to the community. And they seem to have a very proactive community spirit and a lot of projects. I don't know whose idea it was, but somebody suggested that they needed, when they do the next stage of developing along the creek, apart from just fixing up the areas, in terms of environmentally, that they would put a walking and bike path in. The idea being to connect the Federation Trail bike path, which is nearby, to basically down to Cherry Lake. So basically then you're going to get a bike path that'll go all the way from the freeway down to hopefully the beach in a safe and beautiful manner. My side of the project is where a series of sculptures getting made. And the interesting thing about this project is that they didn't want just a sculpture, they wanted a series of sculptures that'll go along a 2.5 kilometre stretch of this development. Whenever I think about its space, I can imagine what might go there. In terms of, it's kind of like almost, I don't know, I don't want to like using the word intuitive, but it's quite an intuitive process of looking at it and just imagining just something I guess gets drawn up in the back of your head, and also it's kind of, and then other things come into it, like, well, if it's, there's an image, and trying to think of what the area means to them, to me, to everyone. It's kind of a creative process of just imagining, letting your mind sort of wander a bit. What I did also was, I do know the creek because I live nearby, so I've been there a few times, and so I've had that at the back of my head, and just walking along the creek and just imagining what would suit the area in terms of sculpture, as in from my personal perspective and viewpoint and aesthetics. Every one of these, there's a human being that's walked in the land and made an impression. And as you look at each one, perhaps you may see a bit more, or you'll go back and see a bit more of the previous one. It allows for it does liberate the narrative a bit, in that I don't have to have one that's saying maybe too much. I can have one that just suggests a bit more the next. Or the idea is, when you look at something, you always carry in your memory, when you go and look at the next piece, the previous one's going to be there in your head. So hopefully just that will suggest an influenced reading on the next sculpture, and hopefully by the time there's a whole set of them, they'll actually create like what is a general narrative, like perhaps a better fleshed out story. There's always something underneath. Every image I do, I think, comes from a certain point of questioning. I think that's underneath a lot of the work. The mood, the character, the gestures, the questioning of humanity in general. It's not always in a profound way, but a way that's kind of like conversational. Kind of like I make an image comes to mind. It's kind of like, oh, what does this mean? What I prefer is the idea of the question. Someone can look at an image and say, well, what is that? Why are they doing that? What is that combination? Why has that person got a big tail and human feet? And why is there a figure that's got this ladder that's trying to reach up to the heaven with a ladder? Why are you doing that? There's also the sense of the absurd, and that's also, I feel that strongly within me. There's a sense of contradictions and absurdity just in existence as a human being, if you think about it.